Hello students, today is video 1.10 and your objectives are I can determine the perimeter and circumference of figures and I can determine the area of figures as well. IXL skills you should begin working on this week are S1, S2, and S8. All old IXL skills, remember, I will have them updated by Friday and you have 1 week beyond the date that they're due to get credit for them. After that, they remain zero. So here we go. Let's go, flippers. Okay, so for perimeter is kind of cool because perimeter basically is the distance around a figure. So if I were to draw a figure here, I told you that the figure's side lengths are 6, 4, 6, and 4, then in order to figure out what the distance is, I'd actually add these up. I would get 20 units. Remember, one dimension is going to be perimeter, so we would actually use units here. Now, if you think about other figures, yeah, there are other figures that have perimeter, but you can find of any figure as long as it has sides, okay? As long as it's a polygon, you can definitely find its perimeter, okay? Think about a fence and a backyard. If you've got a fence, right, that fence itself is going to be representing perimeter. The items inside of the fence would represent something else. So if we shade this in blue, then the items inside are going to represent something else, which we are going to call area. Okay? Area is the number of square units inside of a figure. Okay? So here's my figure here, and I'm going to put some squares inside of it. And the squares are 1 by 1 squares. And if that's true, then this is 1 by 1. And the area of each one of these boxes would be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And this would actually be then a 2 by 4. So the area then would be 8 units squared this time. And remember, I said how many 1 by 1 boxes are in here? There are 8 of them. There's 1, there's 1, there's 1, there's 1, so on and so forth. So you get 8 of them. And that's what area really is. How many one? Now we can find the area of different figures like triangles here by just doing the same thing we would have done and figuring out how many fit in. So this could be maybe this is 6 by 4. So we'd actually go 6 by 4 and we get 24. But because this is only a triangle, and if you look at it, this actually will be the other triangle. We're going to divide this in half. And we're going to get 12 inches squared. This other one is a circle. A circle is kind of cool because when you're finding the area of a circle, you always want to go the apple pies are 2. Apple pies are 2. And how will you remember that? You remember that because the pi is going to be a number that we use, and so is r. R represents the radius. The radius, remember, is any point, any line segment from the center point to a point on the circle. So all of these are radii, the plural of radius. And if we know 1 is 3, then we know the area of this circle is going to be A equals the radius squared, which would be 3 squared, times pi, because apple pies are 2. And the area in terms of the pi would be 9 pi. Now you could put this in a calculator and you can get an estimated answer. You'd have 9 pi units squared. Or you'd have 9 times pi in the calculator, which turns out to be 27.25. 27.25 units squared. Sorry about the scribbling there. Last but not least is going to be special perimeter, and that's going to be of this type of figure. So here's a circle again. And the circumference of a circle basically is the distance around the circle. Distance around. And that basically is going to be circumference equals the pi times the diameter. And the diameter is kind of cool because the diameter actually goes from a point on the circle through the center to another point on the circle. So here's another diameter and another one. And if we use the number from earlier and make this 3, then this would actually be 3 too. So the diameter would be 6. So in terms of pi, it would be 6 pi, because that's ugly. We like to turn it around. Or we could actually multiply this out, and we'd get 3.14 times 6, which would be around 18.56 units. Remember, this is one dimension, so it's only units. Area is always squared. All right, here's your examples. What is the circumference of a circle in terms of x? What is the circumference in the circle in terms of nearest tenth? In terms of, or not in terms of x, in terms of pi, I'm sorry. So the equation we're going to use is circumference equals pi times the diameter. And the diameter here is 15, so we just substitute that in for d. So 15 pi, because the other way was ugly. So in terms of pi, this is our answer, 15 pi inches. Okay? But in terms of nearest tenth, you need to actually take your calculator, put in pi times 15. You're going to get 47.123, but you round it to the nearest tenth, so it's 47.12 inches. Number 2 says, what is the perimeter of EFG? Well, you need to figure out the distance around, right? That's what perimeter is. So you're going to take each side and figure it out. Here from E to F is from 6 to -2, where you can actually count down. You can take these numbers and figure out what is the difference when you add them together. Well, if I add these together, 6 minus a -2 gives me 8. Hey, that's why you got 8. -2, or not -2, sorry. 3 minus -3 gives you 6. That's why you get 6. And then you want to use Pythagorean theorem here with that 6 and 8 to come up with C equals 10. So this is the length of 10, this side over here. Then you add those 3 numbers up, and you get 24 units. Here's your secret hot question. What is the area of the circle below in terms of pi? And what is the area of the circle using 3.14 for pi? And the diameter is 28. That number right there that you're looking at, you're like, Marla, what does that say? 28 meters. Later, dudes.